Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I meant to do this at 3 o'clock, but I got stuck at Valvoline. I was way overdue for an oil change, and then I needed to get my antifreeze replaced, and you know how it goes. So, anyway, so glad everybody's here. Jenk, I love your comment there. You're going to dust off the Alif Ba textbook. Yeah, that Alif Ba textbook is actually fantastic. I am a big, big fan of that. Let's see. I'm just going to pop out the chat here. I forgot to move this into the screen there. So bear with me 1 second while everybody's getting settled in. Looks like we got a good crew. We got 7 or 8 people watching. This is fantastic. And please be sure to just post your questions and comments in the chat so that we can let me see, just type. I can't talk and type at the same time. I'm not that talented. All right, here we go. Pop out, pop out. Where's the pop out? I think that should be it. All right. Is it a fake account? No, no, this is not a fake account. I think he's on every live stream that I do. So no, he's the real deal. Yep. Always good to check. Colin, thanks so much for being here today. And yeah, hopefully everybody will be able to read the chat okay. And I'm just gonna make a couple of minor adjustments so you don't have to look at the heading. And we'll really quickly just move I think that should be good there. All right, so you guys don't see the border. All right, and I consider myself to be a Deutero. Check. I love it. I absolutely love doing these live streams. We got a good crew for this. All right. So, well, what do you say we get to it? All right. So, let me just give you my story. Some of you know about me already. You've heard a little bit of my story. So if you'll indulge me for just a couple of minutes for those who don't. My name is Chris Dost. I got a PhD from Jewish Theological Seminary back in 2014. And, my dissertation, my PhD dissertation, which is actually the subject of the first book that I wrote, is on it deals with Masorah. And if you don't know what Masorah is, we're just going to call it a medieval system of quality control for the Hebrew Bible. So a medieval system of quality control. And it's a series of Aramaic notes and commentary that made their way into biblical manuscripts in the Middle Ages. And I have a whole bunch of videos on this on my YouTube channel. So if you go over there, you can check out that. Anything with the word Masorah. Yep. So let's see. So I was a music major. I was actually a jazz bass major in my undergrad days. Started studying Greek at the prompting of a friend, went to seminary for Greek, got pretty advanced there, but then got bit by the Hebrew bug, ended up at Jewish Theological Seminary. And over the course of my career, I had a full-time position at Alliance Theological Seminary, which was in Nyack, New York, and New York City. Pardon me, and taught Hebrew Bible and Semitic languages, even some New Testament courses there for a long time. I've taught, in addition to that full-time gig, I've also taught part-time at Jewish Theological Seminary in New York, Bethlehem Bible College. I taught online for them, Palestine, Sacred Heart University in Connecticut, and there's probably been some others along the way that I'm blanking out on. Well, Jamaica Theological Seminary. I did one for them this summer. That was awesome. But in any event, so I've been doing Hebrew for a long time, and over the course of my career teaching Hebrew, I've been looking for different ways to make Hebrew for students to have a more efficient and joyful experience in learning Hebrew. It's a language that, because of the script, it looks terribly hard, but it's really just it's not harder than any other language. I mean, all languages require some work, of course, but the script just makes it look harder than it really is. And so this is an experiment. I want your feedback at every turn. Just post, post, post so I can see what's working for you, what's not working for you. And, that's that. So I'll try to keep my eye on the posts as we're going. And those of you who purchase supers and all that, your posts get highlighted and I give more attention to them. And, our goal for today is to hit 5. Jank, yours from earlier today counts. So, the incentive is that I'm doing a short, um, one-on-one Q&A with anybody who donates, just to encourage people to support the channel. And so make sure you contact me. I think you have my email address, and anybody who decides to donate, I'll give you my email address. And, you can, we'll set up like a Zoom call or something like that, or FaceTime. All right, cool. Let's get started. No time like the present. So switch over to this screen. Okay, so the goal for this course is to start with modern Hebrew, because modern Hebrew is simpler than biblical Hebrew, but there is an enormous amount of overlap. So everything we learn is going to be indirectly or directly relevant for reading biblical Hebrew, okay? The other thing is, when you learn a living language and you practice speaking it even to yourself around the house, driving in the car, whatever it is, it's going to reinforce the grammar and the syntax and the vocabulary, whereas it's just harder to deal with dead languages. I know, because I've studied a lot of them and taught a lot of them. So this is, as it says here, this is actually doable. That's what I want you to take away from today. Okay, so I realize some of you have training in Semitics and Hebrew. We're going to start from the basement, though, okay? So Hebrew reads right to left. If you didn't know that, there you go. It reads right to left. The graphemes, I say the same letters. I oftentimes will use the term grapheme for a written character, and that's to distinguish it from the phonemes or the sounds that we use in the language. So modern Hebrew and biblical Hebrew use the same letters. I feel like I need to zoom in a little bit more for you here. Okay, that looks a little better, I think, right? Okay, so vowels, or, we're going to refer to it sometimes as the nikudot or just nikud in general. These are training wheels, and, through this course, you're actually going to learn to read without those training wheels. We're going to learn to ride the bike without the training wheels, okay? And then, the goal for today is recognition, not mastery. So don't feel like you need to memorize anything. Today is really just about getting acquainted. Lord willing, and the creek don't rise, I'm going to, try to live stream 3 times a week. And that gives you guys a little bit of time between lessons to practice and so on and so forth. And we'll just see how it goes. But, again, if there aren't any, hiccups in life, I plan to do this for a year. And, it should be low commitment and so on and so forth. So, all right, here we go. So let's start with some core vocabulary, and I'm editing this document as we go. All right, so the first one, this is shalom, okay? I was going to say maybe I could zoom in. Can you guys just give me a comment? Let me know if this is large enough on your screens. I just want to make sure that you're able to see everything clearly. I probably should have put this in, a larger, I think I'm going to just, let's go with 16. And then we'll go with, I don't know, we'll do 14 there. Maybe that's a little better. There we go. Yeah. All right, cool. So, so the first word is shalom, shalom. And notice what I've done here, okay? Yes, thank you. Awesome. All right, thanks. And that is, sorry, I don't have my glasses on. Is that Alicia that I'm seeing there? Alicia, okay? Let me know if I'm not pronouncing it right. I really try hard to pronounce people's names correctly. So, but yeah, what I'm doing here is with nikud. Now, this is the full Hebrew spelling. So it's the characters, the alphabet, the consonantal alphabet with the vowel signs, okay? Now, what you see here without nikud, these are only the consonants. Only the consonants. Here, we have consonants with vowels. Okay. Now there are some clarifications I'll need to make later, but you know, you get the idea. Transliteration is just representing the Hebrew characters into Latin, Latin characters, or English letters that we use in English. And then finally, there's the meaning here. So we want to watch out for nikud, without nikud, transliteration, and meaning. Okay. So the word that we're starting off with is shalom. Okay. Now, if you can't read Hebrew characters yet, that is totally okay. I actually have, a number of videos in my YouTube library that after this, this live stream, go check them out. Okay, there's a separate video on vowels as well. I will, I don't know if someone wants to post them to the comments. I don't want to get too distracted by going back and forth. But if someone wants to do that and just post some of the links to my videos there, feel free. Okay, so the word shalom in modern Hebrew can mean peace, okay, hello, and goodbye. So right off the bat, you can start speaking Hebrew. Okay. Now I want to give you like a little, just a little pep talk at the beginning for those of you who are new, or those of you who maybe haven't used your Hebrew in a long time. So I think back in, I don't know, 2015, I moved to Nyack, New York, where I, became a full-time professor there in Old Testament. And I was not in great physical shape at that time. Hadn't done anything athletic really for years and years because of my dissertation. And I was standing at the bus stop one day talking to a fellow professor who would run 10 miles a day. It was just a normal thing for him. And I said, yeah, I got to get started, jogging or something like that. But I said, I'm not a runner. And he stopped me right there. And he said, you need to think of yourself as a runner. Declare that you are a runner. Okay. And it was what he was getting at is I needed a shift in my mindset. So, yeah, even though I wasn't ready for the Olympics, nor am I still, to start off with a defeatist mentality never helps anybody. And so we want to start off by saying, you know what? I speak Hebrew. I am a speaker of Hebrew. And if you can say the word shalom, then you are a speaker of Hebrew, right? You can say hello, and you can say goodbye, and you can say peace. All right. All with that one 4-letter word. Okay. So shalom. Okay. Now, you'll see in the videos that I have the first letter sheen. Remember, we're reading right to left, makes an SH sound in this case. Okay. Like Hebrew, some letters have more than one sound, more than one realization. Then there's an L. This is a W, which also serves as an O vowel. And then this is one form of the letter M. So it's sh, l, o, m. And then the vowel signs you can see there. Okay. But I'm not gonna teach those in this course. I'm gonna let you look at my other videos on those so you learn them. But if nothing else, if you're writing out, if you have a little notebook with you and you're just jotting things down, write out the word in Latin characters, because then at least you know the word shalom. So hello, peace, goodbye. All right, we all good? Any questions? Please be sure to post them if you have them. And while I'm waiting for questions to come in, okay, can I zoom in maybe a little more? Does it? It doesn't let me. Or what if I type it in here? What if I go to 225? Does it let me? Nope, 200's it. All right, whatever. Okay, the next word is can. Okay, and it's kind of like the E vowel here is kind of in between a soft English E, like in the word bed, okay, or in the name Ken, actually, Ken. And then, between the long E vowel, like you would have in the word obey. So when you hear Israelis pronounce this, it's something more like can. See, I tend to make it longer than it should be, but can. Okay, so it's in between those two English sounds if you're trying to use Israeli pronunciation. One thing about that is the reason why I don't try to teach an authentic biblical pronunciation, from how it was pronounced in, quote unquote, Old Testament times, is because there was no one pronunciation in Old Testament times. In the same way that you can, I live in New Milford, Connecticut, where I pastor a church. But the first town I lived in was Foxborough, Massachusetts, and then Boston. Anybody who knows anything about this section of the United States knows that people who live just, I don't know what it is, 120, 130 miles from here, they have a very different English, accent in the way they speak English. And New York is only, I don't know, an hour and 15 minutes from where I live, New York City. And lo and behold, if you go down to New York City, you'll find different accents there. So to think that there was one accent that predominated throughout the Old Testament period simply isn't true. And I talk about that when I teach Arabic as well. But anyway, so we use the modern Israeli pronunciation, because it's just an agreed upon standard. It's a standard to use, and it makes the overlap between modern Hebrew and biblical Hebrew easier. Yeah, you all speak in. Thank you, Davy. And Davy, I'm glad you're back with us. Yeah, y'all speaking strangely. Just the word y'all right there, right? Exactly. Thanks for chiming in, man. Glad you're here. All right. So this word is can, and it means yes. This is a biblical Hebrew word, but generally in biblical Hebrew doesn't mean yes. It means thus or so. Thus or so. Okay. But again, if you learn to use the word "ken" in modern Hebrew, when you when you see the biblical Hebrew word "ken," it's going to be much easier to remember. Okay, so "ken," here it is. The two letters without the nikud, the two consonantal graphemes, we should say. The one to the right is kaf. It makes a K sound generally, and the last one is a form of nun, which makes an N sound. So "ken." Okay, and it means, in modern Hebrew, it means yes. All right. Okay, next we have the word lo. Lo. Now, I know at least Jank knows some Arabic, maybe some of you as well. Chime in if you do. I just love, more for curiosity's sake. But in Arabic, the word is la, la, like we'll spell it L-A. In Hebrew, it's lo, lo. In the same way that, does anybody know, just going back to shalom for a minute, does anybody know how to say peace in Arabic? I guarantee that everybody has heard this word at some point, even if they didn't know what it actually meant. They have learned this word. Anybody know the Arabic word for peace? And I know we got a little bit of a delay there on the broadcast. I think there's a 15-second gap. See if anybody is able to come up with the answer. Jank, I feel like you know it. All right. So the word is, drum roll please. Here we go. It is salam, which we can spell. That's it. There it is. There it is. And I like the way you spell that, S-A-L-A-A-M. We use the double A because it's a long vowel. But notice how in Hebrew, the first S becomes a sh. So s in Arabic, sh in Hebrew, and the long A vowel in Arabic becomes a long O vowel in Hebrew. So it's essentially the same word, just with a different pronunciation to fit their respective languages. And we're going to see a lot of words like that. So that's one way to help you with shalom. But can, not. And so that same issue with the A and the O, we have it with the word not. So Jank, help us out again. And how do we say no? Just the declarative no in Arabic. And the rest of you, if you know that the Hebrew is lo, just like we had shalom, can you guess what the Arabic might be? And the answer would be la, la. Okay? Lo in Hebrew, la in Arabic. Shalom in Hebrew, salam in Arabic. Okay? That's right. There it is. Awesome. Okay, so let's see. Whoop, guess I went down too far. All right, next. I did a video on this word recently in modern Hebrew and Arabic, so you can check out that video if you want. I know some of you were there, and sorry, there it is, written in Arabic. Very good, excellent. I got to keep my glasses on. All right, so when we want to ask ma, sorry, when we want to ask what in modern Hebrew, ma, and that is a biblical word as well. Okay. So ma means what? With nikud, you see it there. Okay. Without nikud, it's there in the second line. The two consonants or two consonantal graphemes are mem to the right and hey. Those are their names, mem and hey. Technically an M and an H. Okay, an M and an H. And, you know, there's different ways to transliterate it. We're going to go with this for now. It works. You'll see different books and different teachers do this differently. I don't want to get into all the different ways of translating. Yep. All right. Very good, Jank. So I don't speak Arabic. لا أتكلم اللغة العربية. Very good. All right. Even when I read Fusha Arabic now, I read it with a Palestinian accent a lot of times. So you notice I said Arabiye instead of Arabiya, right? And that's a Palestinian thing. Really a Levantine thing. It's not just Palestinian. You'll hear it in Syria and elsewhere as well. All right. So we got ma, meaning what? Okay. Next, we have the masculine singular. This is called a demonstrative. A demonstrative. Demonstratives are pointing words. Pointing words. So this is generally ze means this. I know it says that there. I think I'm going to remove that for the time being. So let's just go with this. You know from English, languages are always more complicated. Words have more than one meaning. But you should really learn the word ze as this. Okay? Ze. Now, there we go. So we got this. So ze. All right? And I'm just checking for, all right, we don't have any questions. Feel free to post your questions. Okay? Don't forget about our goal for here. We're trying to hit five supers, just to help fund the channel and keep it going. Appreciate all the support. Number 6, if you want to ask who, I also have a video on this, modern Hebrew and modern Arabic. Me. So ma is what? Me is who, the question word who. Okay, not the relative pronoun. I should really, I should probably put it in like this. Okay, just to make it clear, because sometimes, who in English can be a relative pronoun. All right, so the question word me means who. Okay, the two consonantal graphemes here, to the right, mem, to the left is yud. Okay, and it's vocalized me, and that means who. Okay. Okay, that was 6 words. All right. Number 7, how are we doing? Let me know how you're doing out there. Just want to make sure everybody's following me. I know some of you are at work and you can't respond, and that's totally cool, but just want to check in, make sure you're doing all right. And it gives me a chance to take a sip of water because I do get parched when I talk for an hour straight. All right. So number 7, ani. Ani. It's with a short A. Ani. And make sure if you're able to, again, if you're not at work. All right. Excellent. All right. Good. Glad to see that things are going well there. Cool. Rocking and rolling. All right. Very good. All right. So the word ani, it's with a super short A vowel. Ani. Ani. Okay. So don't hold it out. In Arabic, it's ana with a longer A vowel at the beginning. Okay. Ani. It means I. Now, you will see this form in biblical Hebrew. Okay. This does occur in biblical Hebrew. But you also see the form I as anochi. There's a longer form. That we're not generally going to see in modern Hebrew. Okay, so the modern Hebrew form is ani. Biblical Hebrew has, those 2 different words. And part of the reason why, if you want to get some sense of why biblical Hebrew will have more than one word for, the same thing, is that first and foremost is because the Hebrew scriptures were written over the course of about 1,000 years. Now, if you know anything about, you know, Elizabethan English, or if you've read really archaic English, you know that it's just not exactly the same language that we speak today. Okay, if you read Chaucer, when I was teaching at South Kent School in, not too far from where I live here in Connecticut, so South Kent School, every student who came through the school, a rite of passage was that you had to memorize a portion from Chaucer in the Old English there, and recite it in front of the entire student body. Okay, and I remember as a faculty member reading it while the students were reciting, and it took a lot of work because it's not everyday English. Okay, so the Hebrew of the Bible comes from different regions. Okay, not all from one geographical area, and it was written over the course of 1,000 years. That's why we're going to get multiple words for the same thing. But ani means I, so with nikud, without nikud. The consonants here: aleph to the right, aleph, nun, and yud. Aleph, nun, yud, and we pronounce it I, ani. All right. The masculine singular you, ata. Now, there's going to be a feminine singular form for you. We're not going to deal with that today. Okay. All right. No worries. No worries. I'm just glad you're here. All right. So glad you're here. And we're going to be reviewing everything because, there's a, let me just see this comment from Colin. Okay, so I think this method of showing people words and explaining the vowels and everything in context is easier for people to learn. So good job. All right, good. I appreciate that feedback because I always love to know what works for people and what doesn't, right? We're always trying to get better at what we do. So thank you for your input, okay? Yeah, the word ata, that's the masculine singular. There's a feminine singular form, at, and I have videos on that as well. Some recent stuff I did on modern Hebrew and Arabic together. Okay, but we're just going to stick with masculine today because Hebrew is a gendered language, unlike English. English really doesn't have much in the way of gender. There are examples to be sure, like he and she, but we have just one word in the singular for you. Whether you're a male or a female, you are a you. Not so in Hebrew, okay? There's a masculine form and a feminine form. So this is the masculine form, okay? And it's ata, okay? And I'm going to go with this transliteration here. Now, again, this is kind of tricky because with the modern Israeli pronunciation, we really don't pronounce the T as doubled. In biblical times, it would have been ata, ata. But in modern Hebrew, we just say ata, ata. Kind of like apple. When you speak, at least American English, you don't say apple, even though there's two instances of the letter P there. You don't say apple. You just say apple, apple. And what really is happening, to give you an example, I'm just going to go down here for a minute in the doc. But consider the spelling of the word apple. Forget about the L and the E. That's a whole other issue, right? Okay. But what we're really doing when we say it is it's more like we're saying apple. Okay. Apple. And you can feel it. If you, a lot of times when I'm learning a new language, I'll keep my hands on my face so that I can feel what's going on in my throat and with my face. But apple, you feel your mouth open up more, okay? The way it's written, though, is as if it were apple, apple. Now, in biblical Hebrew, to use an analogy, that is how many words would have been pronounced when they have a doubled consonant. But what happens over time is that in modern pronunciation, the doubling disappears, okay? All right. Epu. You're gonna have to explain that one to me. I'm so sorry. Okay, that one's over my head. I apologize. All right. But yeah, so you're gonna see, like, even in my other videos, a lot of times I'll go with this transliteration, but I want you to just listen to how I'm saying it. Ata, ata, not atta. Okay, like we would get in Arabic. Ata. Okay. All right. And then number 9 is who. Now, who is he? Okay. Now, this is already getting confusing, right? Because we said earlier, sorry to scroll so fast, me is who, the question word, me is who, and who is he. Okay. Me is who, and who is he. And we're actually, when we get to the feminine, I'm going to say to you, me is who and who is he and he is she. Oh, it's written in the Portuguese system. Yes, I should have I should have known. Okay. Thank you. All right. I'm a little dense sometimes. I admit it. Okay. But who is the pronoun, the independent pronoun that means either he or it when referring to something masculine. So every noun in Hebrew has gender. Okay. And when we're referring to an it, but the gender of that thing is masculine, according to Hebrew understanding, we use the pronoun who. Okay. All right. Next, sefer, sefer, sefer. And notice how the R is pronounced in modern Hebrew. It's similar to French. It's back. Now, if you say sefer, like with an American R, or, if you're a Spanish speaker and you do a tongue tap, whatever, but when you listen to Israelis say it, um, um, you know, it's sefer, okay, with kind of in the back of the throat there. All right, so sefer is a masculine singular noun, okay, with the nikud, here it is. The consonantal graphemes from right to left are samech, which makes the S sound, pe, which in this case makes an F sound. It can make a P sound and an F sound. And then resh is the letter to the left, sefer, sefer. And it means book. It can also mean, in the biblical period, it can mean scroll because, and you got to watch this in your Bible translations, there were no books. Okay, there were no books in the. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, it's takes some getting used to. Yeah, it is very difficult for English speakers. You're absolutely right. So, but yeah, it's interesting when we read in English Bibles anyway, and you guys can tell me about Portuguese and translations in other languages, but there is no such thing as a book in the modern sense of the word. The codex is really not invented until the 3rd century BC, and it's not normalized, or it doesn't become a regular thing until the 3rd century CE. I don't know if I have a copy of it here. It's probably scattered around my library somewhere. But the second book that I wrote, and don't get thrown off by the title, it is not a religious book. It's a history of the Hebrew scriptures. It's called Jesus's Bible. And I don't mean that the Bible is all about Jesus. It's just the Bible as it existed in Jesus's day. Was I being a little clickbaity when I came up with the title? Yes, I absolutely was. I admit it. Okay. But it's a short history of the Hebrew scriptures. And one of the things I talk about in there is the development of the codex. That is to say, a book where you have a cover, stacked pages that open like a book today. That was not normal. It didn't exist, frankly, in the period of the First Kingdom of Israel, and really for most of the Second Temple period as well. So from a Christian perspective, the Old Testament period, there were no books. There were scrolls. Okay. So Fu Manchu. Actually, I am a very devout Christian. I pastor a church here in Connecticut. It's a family Bible church. But when I wrote that particular book, I left my own religious viewpoints to the side just so that I could talk about the history of how the Old Testament or the Hebrew scriptures became a book. And it was more to have a dialogue. with people who, regardless of their religious affiliation, needed to understand where the Hebrew scriptures or the Old Testament came from. And I think that's important even for people who might share my religious sensibilities and my religious convictions, because I think and I'm going to generalize here, so please forgive me if you find this an unfair generalization, but I think in the Christian church, there is a sort of mystical view of how the Old Testament became a book. And it's just not the case. We know an awful lot about how the Old Testament or the Hebrew Bible became a book. And so what I was trying to do is to just say, regardless of what you think, dear reader, right, whether you are a devout Jew, a devout Christian, whether you are an atheist, for the purpose of that discussion, I don't really care. Here are the historical facts that we have about how the Hebrew scriptures or the Old Testament became a book. Does that make sense the way I'm explaining it there? I should probably pause on that because I know that tends to be a subject of some interest to people. In fact, while you are posting your comments, because I know inevitably there will be some comments, can you just give me 30 seconds? I just need to get some more water because I'm talking a mile a minute here and a little bit parched. So I will be back in less than 30 seconds. All right, I'm back with some water. Alicia, thank you so much for being here with us today. Sorry you have to disappear, but I imagine we will see you again. All right, so stay tuned for our upcoming lessons. All right, Davey, thank you so much. Just a shout out to Davey for your support here. Really, really appreciate it. This sort of thing really helps. I really appreciate it. All right, so we got the word sefer here, okay, and it occurs everywhere in the Tanakh. Now, I should mention here, for those of you who were with us on our live stream earlier, we're going through the book of Ecclesiastes, and I took some time to mention that in the Jewish tradition, the Bible, the Jewish Bible, the Old Testament, is broken up into three parts: the Torah, which is the first 5 books of the Bible, the Nevi'im, the prophets, and the Ketuvim. And so from that, we get the word Tanakh. So Tanakh, and I make my, I don't know if any, that's right, absolutely, Jank, we're 3 away. So, in my freshman class, I teach in addition to pastoring, I teach at a boarding school here in Connecticut, and I'm the chair of the theology department. And so I make them learn that Tanakh equals Old Testament equals Jewish Bible, right, equals, whoops, I can't type. I'm getting used to this PC keyboard. I've been typing on a MacBook for so long. These terms all mean the same thing in terms of content, okay? They all mean the same thing in terms of content. Now, obviously, Tanakh is a uniquely Hebrew term. Jewish Bible is acknowledging that, yes, this is the Bible for Judaism. Okay, Old Testament obviously is a Christian reference, and then Hebrew Bible deals with the language that it's written in. But in terms of content, It's all the same thing. So whichever word you like to use for the Tanakh, Old Testament, Jewish Bible, Hebrew Bible, Sefer occurs everywhere in there. Okay, why do the E's in Sefer have two different sets of vowel dots? Colin, excellent question. And historically, the two dots, sorry, that's not right. All right. Why is this being funny? There we go. Okay, so the one in that syllable, I'm going to just blow this up. Well, I probably shouldn't use that term. Does YouTube demonetize? Cenk and I were talking about all the funny things they listen for. I'm going to enlarge this syllable. The two dots historically is a long E, like in the word obey. Okay, that would be a long E. The three dots are a short E, as in the word nest or something like that. Okay. The reality is that in modern Hebrew, you often will not hear a difference between them. Okay. So that's why when we're transliterating, the transliteration system, sometimes if you watch other videos that I post, sometimes I will distinguish between them, sometimes I won't. There is no right and wrong with this, but that's an awesome question. Thank you for asking that. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, no problem. All right. So, all right, next, we're getting here with our vocab. All right. So buy it, house. The way I, the way I remember it, just these mnemonics is, when I was learning Hebrew, we were getting ready to buy our first house. And so, buy it kind of sounds like buy it in English. And that helped me to remember that. Okay. So buy it. This is the same word, by the way. I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to explain this in detail right now, but you will see it spelled one of these two ways, beit. And if you go by, any synagogue, in America, there's a very good chance it's going to be beit something. So, beit shalom, beit, whatever. And Beit El, right? That's where we get the name Bethel from. And so Beit is another form of bayit, which means house. Okay. We'll talk more about that in the future. All right. Next, Tov. Tov, meaning good. Okay. Notice we have that W coming back for the O vowel. Okay. Tov, and it means good. Okay, so there are, I came up with 12 words. Here we go. So let's review them really quickly. Sorry if this is making you dizzy. Whoops, there we go. All right, so let's review our words because I know at least Davey came in late, and I know there's people who've been, Beit Lechem, good, Beit Lechem. Or, well, that's Arabic. I'm saying it in Arabic now. So Beit Lechem in Hebrew, Beit Lechem in Arabic. All right, so let's just review the words we've gone over, and then we're going to do something with them, right? Because it's not just about memorizing words. Shalom, hello, peace, goodbye. I would encourage you, if you really want to learn these words, do stuff like this. When you say the word shalom, wave, okay? Shalom, hello, peace, goodbye. If you can, say it out loud with me. And even if you're at your desk at work, you can, just mouth it, and that will help you. The more senses you use to learn, the more likely you are to retain it. Okay. Next, ken. It means yes. So nod your head or give a thumbs up when you say ken. Okay. Next, lo. Shake your head. Lo, not. It can mean not and no. All right. Next, ma. What? Ma. What? In fact, when I used to, when I was younger and I'd call for my mother, Ma, I need something. And oftentimes she would respond by saying, what? And so that is actually how I remembered that word. Weird things. I know it's kind of corny, but it actually works. So next is ze. Ze, meaning this, ze. Mi means who. Me means who. Ani means I. Ani means I. Ata is you when referring to a male. Okay. Ata means you when referring to a male. Hu. This means he or it when referring to something that has a to which is attributed the masculine gender in the Hebrew language. He or it. Hu. Sefer. We'll say book for now. That's what it means in modern Hebrew. Okay. Biblical Hebrew, scroll is going to be a better translation. Bayit. House. Bayit. House. Tov. Good. Tov means good. All right. So now, our first Hebrew sentences. It's time to learn some sentences because, again, we don't, we're not just in the business of memorizing words, right? And words are not these magical tools to understand the Bible. Words don't mean anything outside of a context. Everything I'm saying right now, everything you've written in the comments, everything that's written on the page, none of this means anything outside of its context, okay? Outside the context of the English language, outside the context of the discussion, okay? Language is inherently contextual. Okay, number one, here's a model sentence for you. This is a book. This is a book. 4 words in Hebrew. I'm sorry, I don't know what language I'm talking about anymore. 4 words. I was having trouble the other day. I was trying to teach Ecclesiastes, but I kept saying Ezekiel. It is what it is. All right, so this is a book. 4 words in English, but 2 words in Hebrew. Ze Sefer. And again, try to mouth it. If you have a notebook with you, go ahead and write it out. Ze Sefer. Ze Sefer. Okay? Ze Sefer. This is a book. Okay? This is a house. So house is also masculine. Remember before we said that in the Hebrew language, the form ze is masculine. So anything to which it refers, is going to be masculine. So ze sefer, sefer must be, a masculine singular word. And ze bayit, bayit must be a masculine singular word. Ze bayit. Okay, this is a house. So notice, no word for is, no word for a. Literally what we're just saying for these two are this book, this house. Now, we have to clarify something here. If I wanted to say, like, if I'm referring to a book and I wanted to say this book, okay, like this particular book, you would not say ze sefer. You would say ha sefer hazeh, which we're going to learn some other time, okay? So, yeah, this is not how you would say this book. That would be ha sefer hazeh. Ze sefer means this is a book. You have to supply the is, you have to supply the and we know to do that because of word order. Word order is very important in Hebrew in that regard, okay? And the same thing, if you wanted to say this is if you wanted to say this particular house in which I live, I don't know why I'm pointing at my hand when I say that. If you wanted to say this particular house, you would say habayit hazeh, just like hasefer hazeh, okay? But if you want to say this is a house, ze bayit, ze bayit, okay? All right, just checking. Yeah, Hebrew's a very straightforward language. Yeah, if you get to know the rules of word order and stuff like that, and the more you speak it, the more easy it is to remember. If you start using these sentences just as you're walking around your house during the day, you are going to just internalize the word order that is applicable so often in the Bible as well when you switch over to biblical Hebrew, okay? All right. Now, if we want to say the book is good, okay, we would say ha sefer tov, ha sefer tov, okay, all right, ha sefer tov. And so ha sefer is going to mean the book. Yep, ha'am hazeh, this people, right, this people, the people, the this. That's right, Jank. So ha-sefer means the book. Notice we put the he at the beginning, and that means the in this case. Okay. Ha-sefer tov, the book, good. We supply the word is there. Now, I'm not going to explain the rules for why right now, because that's not important. But if you can, in time, memorize that ha-sefer tov means the book is good, then you can probably figure out how to say the house is good. Ha-bayit tov. Okay. Or if you wanted to say, well, we'll look at some other nouns later, but that's how it works. So these sentences become paradigms or models for creating other sentences. Oh, that's all I put in there. Okay, so we've got to think of some other sentences. So how would we say, what is this? That would be the next sentence. What is this? Okay. And so if we scroll through our vocab, and I'll just do this with you the long way, just so you can get used to it, okay? We say, oh, there's the word what. So ma. And if we want to say, what is this? Ze. And we've already learned from the other sentences that we don't need an is in the present tense. So if you want to say, what is this? Ma, ze. Ma, ze. Okay? Or what about who is this? Mi, ze. Mi, ze. All right, now before we learn the word not. Okay, so how would we say, let's go back to our sample sentences here. How would we say, this is not a book? This is not a book. We would say, ze lo sefer. This not book. Ze lo sefer. This is not a book. This is not a house. Ze lo bayit. Ze lo bayit. Okay. All right. Now, what if we want to say, is this a book? Is this a book? We could just say, ze sefer? Ze sefer? This book? And we just raise our voice like we do in English. Ze sefer? Now, how would we say, yes, this is a book? Yes, this is a book. Can you remember the word for yes? Well, let's scroll up. Okay. And I think that was one of the, word 2 that I gave you? Ken. So if we want to say, yes, this is a book, we would say, Ken, ze sefer. Ken, ze sefer. Is this a house? Ze bayit? Ze bayit? Ken, ze bayit. Okay. If we want to say, no, this is not a book, lo, ze lo sefer. Lo, ze lo sefer. No, this is not a book. Notice that lo in that, sorry, I should have gone down there. Notice that if we want to say no and not, lo means both. Lo, ze, lo, sefer. No, this is not a book. Okay. So this is just, this is just some practice. Again, for the purpose of lesson 1, we're not looking to memorize anything. Okay. These are just samples of how we can put these words to use. And by the way, every single one of these words that I taught you today occurs in the Bible. Okay. All right. Now, so I want to just show you really quickly. I'm going to switch screens for a minute here. All right. And we're going to go over to, just get rid of that. So in the top middle, okay, I just have this set up for 3 languages here. Aramaic on the right, Greek on the left. Okay. But if we go over here, let me switch windows and we're going to go to Genesis. Okay. And you don't know most of these words, and that's okay. All right. But what I do want to point out that you have seen already, okay, is that we have seen the definite article. So in the beginning of Genesis 1:1. It says, it reads, Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. Ha-shamayim, the heavens, ve'et ha-aretz, and the earth. Okay? And the definite article appears Let's get out of there. Okay? The definite article really appears all over the place. Twice in verse 1, twice in verse 2. The first word, ve'ha'aretz, and the land, or and the earth. The last word of verse 2, hamayim, okay, the water. Okay? And let's see, what else have we learned that's right in the first chapter of the Bible? Well, there's the article again, ha'or, the light. Okay? And then, we've seen this word before. It is the word good. Oh, man, keep clicking too many things here. Okay? And so in Genesis 1:4, Vayar Elohim, and God saw et ha'or, and God saw the light, ki tov, that it was good. Okay? That it was good. All right. So anyways, that's just one example of where, stuff that we have seen just in our lesson today. We have, in modern Hebrew, we see it in the Bible, but all of these words occur throughout the Bible. Now, what's going to happen is the more we learn modern Hebrew, the more we can start identifying, words that occur both in modern Hebrew and the Bible. They're all over the place. And so you're going to start seeing a text like this. It's going to more highlights and more highlights and more highlights. And I think that should really encourage you. So anyways, going back just for a minute here, let me go back to the other screen. Okay, there we are. And so the outcome, okay? We've read 12 real Hebrew words. They occur in modern Hebrew and they occur in the Bible. I've given you the modern Hebrew meanings, but they overlap very significantly, if not identically, in many cases, with biblical Hebrew words. You've read 2 to 3 real Hebrew sentences. Even if you're not reading the Hebrew characters yet, totally cool. Because remember, how does every individual learn his or her first language? Is it by reading? Nope, it's by speaking, hearing and mimicking, okay? So if you're able to mimic what you heard me say today, even if you don't remember it, you have read, or said, we should say, 2 to 3 real Hebrew sentences. Okay? And you have recognized a biblical word in context. And that should lead you to feeling successful. This, I hope, was an hour well spent. If you can say yes to all of these, that's huge, right? So you are a speaker of Hebrew now. That's what I want you to take away from today. I'm very, very pleased with everybody. Just so excited about the interest. Please be sure to spread the word. Share on social media, and let's see if we can build this community of learning together. And if you're willing to, I'd very much appreciate people contributing. The supers there just to help out. And for those of you who have purchased, please be sure, if you haven't already, to contact me via email, and I'll do the one-on-one session with you, as I promised, just to get to know you better and, answer questions that maybe I don't have time to answer during these chats. So please let me know, guys, if you need my email address there. I think I've posted it before. Okay. Anyways, awesome. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll do another lesson real soon, and we'll try to do this 3 times a week. All right, everybody. Oh, wait, how do we say goodbye? You remember? It was the first word we learned today, the word for peace, hello, and goodbye. And it is shalom.